let's get it. Do the intro. So once again, you are tuned in to No Snoozn, the podcast, Volume 2. I am Jay DeHita, rocking with You Love Poon. We got Benny cupcaking out here.
Never faking.
And a very special guest. We can't even define it, so we're here to figure out all the facets and levels of who is Moses. Pray for Moses. Thanks for being here. Make some noise.
Yo, thanks, brother. I love that. That audience clap, that's lit. It's fuck. What do I do? I mean, I work in creative, so it's a little, and it didn't always start out that way. I started out styling, which is really random because I used to skate for a living before. So, very, very like, I guess bumping my head to sort of get to where I'm at now. I've been in the game for about a little over 10 years. I take pictures. I do creative direction. I do design. I've started companies. I've done beauty campaigns. All kind of different stuff. I wouldn't say one thing is really similar to the other.
I like how you just got right into it. That's dope. I mean, but let me just I'm like a terrible host out here. Let me preface this a little bit. So we know Moses through the homie Stefan. I mean, how do you know Moses, Benny?
Through our friend Stefan Pompey.
Young Pompey. Not so young anymore. He's out here growing, doing his thing. Photographer, skateboarder, homie extraordinaire.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to kind of give you a little background, Moses, on the podcast. So essentially, we just take 60 minutes to chop up with creative entrepreneurs like yourself, and basically just kind of learn a little about you and learn a little bit about how to make moves more efficiently in this digital world.
Yeah, I mean, like when I first met Moses, probably about like 2 years ago, Stefan actually took me to his crib that because he used to live in the Seaport, which is like it's a super bomb, like super dope, like it was goals.
Yeah,
like he had like the fireplace and everything. Dude, trust me, man, there were some pictures I was taking by the like his fireplace with the wine in my hand. I had my little legs crossed and everything. Oh yeah, I was acting real bougie. I was like, yo, man, take pictures. I was acting like a real insta thought, but whatever. Don't judge me. So anyway,
chilling on the rug right there, reading a book.
Oh man, I felt.
There's definitely some sheepskin. Yeah.
Sheepskin, okay.
Yo.
You guys do that with the shirt off, though, man.
Matter of fact, yo, man, like, shout out to Moses, because, like, he would be like, oh, hey, man, man, like, take off your shoes and everything. And I'd be like, yeah, cool. And he'd be like, oh, yeah, bye. Oh, yeah, like, by the way, like, put these stockings on your feet. He would have, like a vase of like just stockings to put on your feet. Like, yeah, man, I ain't trying to get that. But you know what? But I understood it because the place, it was so clean and everything. And I was just like, dude, I don't want to get your place dirty at all. I'll put on whatever you need to put on.
No, it's like when you go to the spa, you get the like slippers.
Yes. We thought about getting a bowl of slippers actually for the crib.
I'm not shocked.
It was limestone floors.
Yeah, man.
So the reason why, like, honestly, my housekeeper, she literally would yell at me because it, like, if you didn't do it, like, it tracked in dirt.
Yeah.
Legit.
Man. She was just straight up Asian style. You got to take your shoes off before you walk in.
Oh, yeah. Which I respected, He had, like, the little white couch and everything. I think I was like...
You said, what kind of limestone...
Yeah,
damn.
Shoes off in my crib, but we ain't got no limestone.
I know. I got concrete rocks, man. Damn.
You gotta step your floor game up, huh?
Yeah, I know, man.
Floor goals out.
But yeah. So yeah, like just to go back to like the first night that I actually met him. I mean, like it was like a super cool dude, man. We just like clicked that first day, and then he kind of went into the background of
There it is, right there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Clean. It's clean. Yeah, for sure.
We got the 360 cam going, so you can check that out real quick.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So just going back to like the first time I met him, like he actually like sat down with me and he was just like, yeah, man, like this is how I started, because I was just like, yo, dude, like, yo, man, like, how'd you get to this point in your life of just, yo, man, like, you look so successful, you have amazing friends, because it was just like a little chill spot with all his homies there. We was all drinking wine. And I was like, yo, like, how'd you get to this point? I was like, yo, dude, like, man, like, I would love to hear your story. And then, like, he went into the background of, like, him living in California and kind of just, like, going through the growing pains of trying to make it to what he is today.
Right.
So I would love for him to share that story with you guys, you know, and be inspired the same way I was inspired when he told that story. So
now we want to hear it.
Yeah. But first, I think we should go into our intros as me being Benny.
Benny loves the intro.
You know what I'm saying? Because I get to talk about myself.
We ain't got the.
You know what I mean? I don't mean to brag about myself, but I'm pretty cupcaking. You never faking. You know what I'm saying? I am the Pharrell of baking. You know
Did you prepare this freestyle?
What? That's crazy talk. I didn't work on this for 2 weeks. You're crazy. But yes, and
This is a notepad.
Got his notes out.
So I'm a little hungover. My name's Jay DeHita the kid, DeHita the dad, and founder of Dream But Don't Sleep, media production company and content creation done right. And I'm real hungover. Somebody pass me my water over there. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. And just so you know, Bobby Dubs, he didn't get cut. He was out there partying with us last night too. And he had to make it to work, and I don't know if he made it that far. So.
Oh man.
But we have our first guest here, Moses, and Poon. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh yeah, what up? It's your boy Poon. Pretty lit last night at Fat Buddha. Shout out to everybody who came out. Pretty hungover. And,
good times.
Yeah, it was a great reunion. Shout out to Ease, Marvel, Color TV, J. Espinoza.
Happy birthday, DJ.
Happy birthday, DJ, man.
DJ Tronic.
Yeah.
Shout out to Concrete Rush, the podcast. Check them out. I like your hoodie too, by the way.
Oh yeah, well you know it's an exclusive collaboration with Dream But Don't Sleep and You Love Poon. Look at this, bam.
No, Snoozn, heavy with the
Dope.
branding.
Yeah, man.
You ain't throw EGOT on that, but it's all good.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I
all
think
right.
it's inside the pocket.
Oh, word? Oh, word? You just gonna put me in the pocket?
Yeah,
That's cool.
Put you in the pocket.
Put it in the pocket.
Pull it out when I need it.
Oh.
You know, cupcaking, never faking. You know.
Man, shut your ass up.
Champion sweatshirt of bacon.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You didn't talk
Whatever.
about the beanie too? Damn, man, you didn't even.
Crazy ass Asian.
Crazy ass Asian.
I heard of that.
Yeah.
Didn't you just do something with that about a month ago? Let me. Maybe I should go and investigate. Nah.
Anyways.
How many of those have you sold already?
Huh? Oh, I can't discuss that. No.
Wait. Like, are you sure?
Huh?
I don't know, man. You might need to give some people some royalties now. I'm playing.
Hey.
He's like, he's like, crop the mic.
I know.
We accept donations for the habits.
Nice.
Moses, you want to do a photo shoot with these?
Yeah, exactly. I'll let you know.
But yes, man. But back to the amazing Moses. Sorry about that, brother.
Sorry about that. So tell us a little bit like kind of what you're doing, working on like currently. I know you do a lot.
Scratch that. He's got to go into the history of Moses.
Damn.
Benny, take the wheel.
No,
really,
the wheel.
You guys,
he really took your job.
Out here, I need some backup. I'm firing on maybe 3 cylinders out of a
Cupcake and radio right now. Somebody snoozing over here.
so you're snoozing.
It's all your fault. You know what I mean?
Here, take the phone.
But yeah.
You're on timeout.
That's it.
Sorry about that, Moses. Yeah.
No. Fuck, where to start? Actually, sorry. Is it okay to swear? That's on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. I just make sure.
I'm not sure.
So, I mean, the long story, it's a long story. We cut it down real quick. I'm first generation in the country, born and raised in LA. My mom, she pieced out when I was around 4 years old. My dad raised me till I was 13, and I pieced out of the house. I'm an only child, from what I know, or from what I can remember of. When I left, there wasn't anyone else around, but that doesn't mean no one else came after me. Was kind of bumping my head, living on the streets for a couple of years, and then, yeah, man, just got real lucky. Skateboarding saved my life, 100%. Just put some money in my pocket, and then from there, slowly started to build out. All my friends, a lot of them still do it to this day. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Paul Rodriguez or Spanky.
P-Rod, yeah.
So P-Rod, I knew P-Rod when it was just Paul. You know what I mean? Just
Hey,
Paul.
Paul.
We used to skate the back of an Albertsons market together. And I think the worst part about me is I've done a lot of shit in my life. I've only in the last maybe 3 years have really gotten comfortable talking about it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff even though we're in the digital age and I actually consult so much on social media like we all do, grew up just hiding. You know, like I wasn't about promoting myself. I actually purposely have never really taken photos until the last couple of years. Anything of myself is just
straight
washed,
straight behind the scenes,
yeah. Super,
in the cut,
real BTS,
yeah, real, yeah. I think, and you know, it's a kind of funny thing. I think that's why I actually gravitated towards what I do now, because the idea of people who created content was to never be seen. You know what I mean? Was that you really were getting hired, or you really were designing, and it was about the product you put out. It wasn't about where the fuck you went to eat dinner or who you were partying with. It was so much about that, like
letting the work speak.
Yeah, letting the work speak for itself. Honestly, that's the old head mentality, but I fucking loved it. You know what I mean? That was it. It was like I didn't want you to, you know, especially being like, I'm not white, obviously. I'm like a mix, little Latino, Caucasian mix, British mix, but yeah, man, it was really strange. It was weird how I fell into this thing, and now the whole community, what we all do, from design to, you know, making content or doing, you know, what a production is about, like who you are too. You know what I mean? It can't just be about like selling cupcakes. Now you got to be like the whole world. Yeah. And I love it too. I love that part of like curating the whole thing. But yeah, man, when I came up in it, I worked for some of the really, I mean, my first set that I was on was for American Vogue.
First set.
Yeah, it was really cool, and I literally was there by accident. At the time, I was just seeing a girl who, she worked for Teen Vogue in LA, and they were coming out to shoot, and it was Steve Meisel was the photographer, and Edward Enninful, who's now the editor-in-chief of British Vogue, the first black editor to be appointed to a publication of that size. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, man. No, so it was really wild. I mean, like I ended up on that set. It was really funny. The guy didn't even really like. I was just an intern coming up. He shook my hand for no reason. Didn't have to. The funny like 360 world was when I was at lunch. The photo assistant guys recognized me from skateboarding from some 4-1 videos back in the day, like VHS.
Whoa,
VHS style
vintage.
Shit, yeah. And yeah, man, they ended up like vibing with me, and then it kind of perked his interest, and he's like, "Who the fuck are you?" And I was like, "Nobody," but I was doing something that people cared about, I guess, you know. And that led to like being from one set to another, and I was like on a couple more Vogue shoots, and then I got referred to working for a guy by the name of Carl Templer. He fired an LA assistant on a Calvin Klein job, and they asked me to come on board, and I literally kind of didn't know who he was. Low-key, Carl is, you know, one of the best, like probably prominent stylists of our time. He unfortunately got hit with a nasty Me Too thing, but I don't really. It's hard because you can't really say what happened, but I've known the guy for a long time, and I felt like that was a harsh call. Right. He was lumped in with a bad set of apples, but
right.
Yeah, man, I've learned from the best.
What were you doing on these sets?
I was styling. Yeah, I was assisting all the stylists at the time.
So how'd you get in from like skateboarding into like styling?
I ended up getting a job. So, I mean, I have a pretty dark past. We don't need to go into all the darkness, but no. But basically, I was skateboarding. I had a couple guys that passed away. I had some overdoses, and then the last one that kind of tipped me off was I had a friend of mine take his own life. Yeah. I took a break. I've seen somebody who just gave me some really good advice. She's like, you should take a moment to like get out of the city, go travel, get your head clear. Right. I came back and I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm good on this, and I needed a job. I had no experience doing anything, so I got a job working in retail. But it was not just like working at an H&M or a Topshop. It was working for Miu Miu, which in LA, I honestly didn't even know what the fuck it was. But I knew the chick who referred me was a really good friend of mine. She's awesome. She basically was like, I know the manager. I think that you could get the job. I met the manager. Kind of like just smiled and charmed my way into this sales position.
Was her name Alma? No. No. I knew somebody who worked there, actually. Yeah.
I wish. That'd be funny. But yeah, I was there for like a couple months, so they closed the store. But in between them closing the store, I would meet a bunch of stylists. And it was sort of like, but it's funny, that wasn't actually the direct connection to being there. It was just being in that circle, and then that same girl who'd connected me to the American Vogue thing. That's how it started.
Even there too, you said like you kind of, that was like the gateway into it, but then you were recognized kind of like, you know, from skateboarding and personality as well, kind of.
I think all that stuff, like it's so funny, like you think that they're so separate, but no, I mean like skateboarding, like it's fashion is inspired by street culture, just like, you know, I think every, you know what I mean, like we just like music, I mean, like street culture, like hip-hop, like all of it, it's also intertwined. Like I mean, of course they're different industries, but I think they all like go to the same bar and grab a drink.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, especially in 2018, you know what I mean? Like when you look at it, like, I mean, like all the streetwear people that came out, what, like 2014, 2015, they're all like the head guys now at the, you know, to like the main places, like, you know, like Louis Vuitton, Virgil, and all those type of people. So, you know, I could totally see that.
Yeah, I mean, the industry, since I've been in it, it's changed so much, man. It was like, it really, it's gotten, we've opened up the gate so wide. Like I worked on a brand that I started with one of my best friends. We were doing it at my house. It's called Stamped now, but it was called Dope before.
Stamped LA?
Yeah. So that was
major.
Yeah, that's huge.
Which is so funny because it's like when if you'd have told me that when we were kids, I'd have been like, this is just like, you know.
That's crazy. IKEA furniture. And
yeah, Chris is really, you know, I think, and it's funny because we'd be like, I don't even think we could have dreamed that would have been a possibility at the time. Like that shit was like, we were literally just fucking turning tees. I would like create images for each t-shirt we'd make, so we'd promote like move each piece as it came out. Like everything would be like small quantity, you know what I mean? Like Chris was producing like my because I started to get hired to art direct like big ad campaigns, so like he would push that, and like Chris is really good at being like the front man, which is awesome because I'm legit like I want to be like left alone, like
let me create it.
Like let me just do my thing. Like I don't need much. Like I just want to like just do what I say and pay me. And that's it. Like, and then leave me be.
Yeah, and that's the dope part that, you know, is like you guys complement each other. He was a good face. He knows how to talk to people, but you're the one like the meat behind everything. You know how to do all the, you know, like the computer stuff and, you know, the styling, the vision behind it.
I think that's the thing too. Like even now as we get, like people are always like, you know, I probably only have like 4,000 something change followers, but like people are like, how do you get hired on these jobs? And I was like, because at some point at a certain level of this work, no one cares. You know, I don't think it really matters if you have a million people following you. A, probably because half those people aren't even real, you know what I mean? And B, because like when you really need to deliver something, you know, more than just getting somebody to turn around, like when it's actual product. And I think you know this obviously really well, you know, deliverables, getting that stuff done on time, making sure that you actually understand how to like interact. I mean, all that stuff is what plays. Professionalism, I think that's one of the biggest things that like I'm curious to see the next wave of like content creators. Like, do they raise the bar for that? Because I think right now everyone's just like driving with a little too much liquor in the system at the wheel. They're just like, you know, because everyone just wants to just put out content, but there's no craft to it. Like I grew up looking at guys like, you know, Peter Lindbergh, you know, like Bruce Weber, like these are like legends of photography. I mean, they're still around. Some of the guys are still out there, but you're like,
we're true artisans with this shit. It's not like just kids on the phone. Like,
it wasn't just like a phone, or like let me just take some titty shots and that's gonna get me a bunch of likes. Like it was really like, why are you taking these pictures? Purpose. What importance do they have to you? And like, what is it that you're trying to say? You know what I mean? So I think everyone fell in love with the like lifestyle of the occupation, but the intent is sort of missing sometimes.
The art form, it's like you wanted to kind of be more known as a, you know what I mean, whatever, photographer, but it's more focusing on the craft and like having an approach, you know, as opposed to like
100%. And it doesn't, and the reality is it's not going to sit well with a lot of people. Like I take a lot of pictures of primarily people of color, or, you know, like sort of like the, you know, not most commercially favorite kind of individuals, and I get a lot of heat, but I get, you know, when I talk to agents, they're like, you need to shoot more, you know, like people that are commercially, you know, like kind of ride in a commercial vein, you need to work, and it's weird because you think when you look at, you know, the Instagram, you look at brands, like people want the abstract or like the, you know, street kind of looking vibe, and they do, but they want to see also the nice, like, we're not gonna make it a race thing, but we're gonna clean cut imagery. You know, totally. So it's funny, and like even now, I laugh because I still will be up against people for certain jobs, and that's always the comment that comes back, and it's fine. I don't really care at this point. I just keep doing my thing, I don't even try to promote. Like, people are always like, you should, do sponsored. I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, if you like what I do, it's great. If you don't, it's cool. Like, as long as I'm alive, I'm basically promoting myself. You know what I mean?
True.
I don't really need to go out there and like be pushing so much. And we did the same thing with the brand. Like, it's so funny. Like, if you make really good stuff, there are people with a big enough mouth, they're gonna go around and just run around and tell people for you.
The content will speak for itself.
Exactly.
If it's fire and it's dope and it communicates, you know what I mean? Like, a message, and people accept that message, it'll get spread. But I think your work definitely stands out. You know what I mean? Like, if you went through the feed and like, in terms of like, you know what I mean? Just through the feed, it pops out before even looking, and it's Moses. I mean, it's just in terms of like the quality. I mean, I've noticed, and the more I've seen it, and since I've been following you, I noticed like in terms of the aesthetic of like you said, the type of people you shoot is definitely not the people that are typically featured in a lot of these like bigger campaigns and things like that. But which just makes it more fire. Yeah. It's shot like really tastefully and like artistically.
And I like how you said that the intent behind it, like you choose to shoot people more of like color, like what people usually actually see in real life.
Different
on TV you don't see minorities too much, or photography. Like, our only lanes is YouTube or Instagram or social media. That's where you see minorities.
And it kind of goes into the conversation that me and you had yesterday when you're like, like you're looking into kind of being, like in like, commercials and doing that because you was inspired by like watching, what's the name?
Aquafina.
And it's crazy, like in 2018, that's what it had to take for, like somebody to look like you to be like,
I didn't think it was possible.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's kind of the way with minorities. It's like we always have to wait our turn and we have to actually see somebody do it to be like, oh shit, like we could we could do that, you know what I mean? So like, it's kind of dope how Moses is like, yo, I'm doing this because I am a minority and I want to push people that look like me because it's not that many of us out there. So I'm doing something different. I'm trying to be that, that outlier, so to speak, you know what I mean? And, and trying to change the game. And I feel like that's what, we all should do as minorities, especially. You know what I mean? I mean, like, I'm a black guy that bakes. I mean, it's not that many people like me. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can check, you can check anywhere. You know what I mean? You're not gonna find one.
I think there's like 900 in Brooklyn. Actually, there's a listing with like 900 black-owned bakeries.
Name one right now.
Cupcake kids.
Oh boy. Hey, cut that part out.
Nah, but I give it up to Moses, man. That's awesome. That's dope. Because once people see your work, they'll be like, damn, Moses could do it, man. I could do it too,
Yeah,
I think one of the craziest parts is like, I think I even dropped, it's funny, like, I was so, I grew up in the mentality, like, never, like, I knew my place. My dad, like, one of the few things he said before I left my house was like, he's like, they're always gonna look at you, you're always gonna be the gardener. He's like, you're gonna be the janitor, you're gonna be like, that's it. Like, don't expect anything else. And like, kind of funny, one of the things my dad did for me before I left was like, he put me in surfing classes as a kid because we grew up in California. I was just watching it one day on the TV and I was like, yo, I would love to do that. He's like, he kind of thought I was full of shit. So I think he did it to just, my dad was definitely the guy that was like, I think he enjoyed watching me push or like struggle a little. Like, I learned how to fight because he'd get the neighborhood kids to like beat me up. So like, you had to learn to swing back or now you're just gonna get punked. I mean, like, growing up in California surfing, like, like, I'd have people be like, just straight up, just old dudes just be like, you don't belong in the water, what are you doing here? And it just made me want to be that much better.
Yeah, totally.
So with this stuff, with photography and stuff, I actually dropped my last name in terms of work because I was like, I don't want anyone to hold it. Moses they already think I'm black when they hear Moses. So I was like, let me not add anything extra on this. So I literally dropped my last name. And now I just kept it like that because I was like, I'm just gonna, it's sort of written and grown, but that's why I won't just shoot what people ask me to shoot. I only shoot what I want to shoot. I'll take pictures, at least when it comes to my personal work. And honestly, I've been really blessed. Shout out to guests in Japan and guests in the US because they have reached out and constantly let me just shoot the portraits I want to take of the kids I want to take. And a lot of the dudes are completely, they look like I was casting in juvie. You know what I mean? Like, so it was really cool. And that's also, I have an amazing casting director, Vaughn Ford.
Vaughn.
Yeah, Vaughn's awesome. Yeah, so
amazing.
he brings just like really. I shot Little Dallas, who you're gonna see in the 212 documentary that's out right now.
Yeah.
Like I was sort of a connection through him. I was. We've just crossed paths with a lot of like really amazing talent, but it's all kids that are just like not your typical, and there's nothing wrong with being typical. It's not that. I think it just goes back to we're giving some time to shine.
There's
for
a lot of typical,
Yeah.
There's a lot so.
It's just time, it's nice to have that moment where you're allowed to give the little guy, step up in the platform, and I am still that little guy. I still have to push, and people always think like, you come to my crib and or whatever, people have like seen the way I've lived my life, and I'm really fortunate that I've been able to do that. But it's still a long road ahead,
Very true.
It's not even close to being scratched.
Yeah. So
that's like I'm sorry, guys. In terms of like the mentality that you had growing up and like the relationship you had with your pops and like with surfing, it seems like you definitely like grew up and like learned that like it's very important that you have to fight and like earn your spot.
Oh yeah.
And then kind of carve your own. And also, like generationally now, we still say like now, being a minority and trying to like represent yourself as a minority and like, but now it's a little bit easier back than probably when your pops was coming up, right?
Oh yeah, no,
so he was preparing you for what, thinking it's like going to be just that, but at the same time, what you're doing is the reason why the climate changes, everybody here, as far as like putting forward the best foot and just representing, because at the end of the day, everybody will have like their preconceived notions, but at the end of the day, like us in our interactions with whoever it is, even on a one-on-one basis, it's our responsibility to really like break down those barriers and and like you could play up to it, and then it's like now we're perpetuating
the stereotypes.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just want to kind of just highlight that because I think that's dope, man. It seems like you get that like cool demeanor, but it's like you're you know your spot, like
Yeah, I don't get really too shaken up anymore by like much. Like now I've been my career sort of like gone at the consulting phase, and I'm taking on projects that are like really, I'm still doing like bigger ad jobs and work on like magazine work and that stuff, but like I just took on a plus size brand, a Curve brand.
Saw that.
So here's a girl who she's plus size. She's like in a size 22, size 24. She worked in fashion. And she got out of it, and she's like, I just want to make clothes that I like for myself and not shop at ASOS.
Yeah.
She's like, I have the money to spend. She's like, so I'm going to invest in kind of creating my, like a world for myself. And like, I just started to like dive into it, and it's so wild. Like modeling agents wouldn't even get back to her because of the like essentially like they weren't interested because they're like, oh cool, like Curve, like no one cares. Lo and behold, and that was when she first started the project. Now I don't know what happened, but the pendulum swung, and now people are focusing back on making quality garments for a very niche community of consumers, and it's been really awesome working with her. We've done some really interesting stuff, and it's crazy, man. It's when you really think about it, it's like there's so many pockets of people that are just being washed out to the side. You know what I mean? Like we think we have a struggle, but then it's like there's a whole nother other spectrum.
Absolutely.
Like so they're definitely like looking into like trying to like get more people like in fashion to kind of work with those type of folks, which is super dope. You know what I mean? So shout out to fashion. I just hope that it's not just like a little trend that they're doing, and they're just hopping onto that, and then they just hop back onto what they were doing beforehand. You know what I mean? So
I think actually like the idea, if you see it, like you see in the subways, everyone's really approaching like everybody has a different body, everyone has a different shape. And I think maybe the other thing too, like that, probably the biggest thing to notice is like we're all, I don't know if it's like all the reports are changing. Like I just heard that there's a huge thing on obesity. Like they're changing the way that they're talking about obesity to people in general. Like instead of like making everyone who is obese or is large feel guilty about it, there's sort of science backing that like it's not just like you're lazy or you're like you just overeat. It's actually in your genetics.
Yeah.
So
there's definitely, I feel like, and I'm not super versed, but obviously I feel like genetically we all kind of born and like have body types, and it's obviously. Oh, word. Shout out to the mic. Was I a little low before?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, cool. But that's interesting. But that's important, you know, to like for the positive for change. You know what I mean? In order to like fix the problem, we gotta like there's positive ways to go about it.
Even if you're not like plus size, think about all the like you know if you're a dude like people that you know guys that want to be you know rail thin and they're just never gonna get there because it just wasn't what their genes are. But you know and they never accept or never love themselves because they don't look like anybody out there. You know what I mean? Like it's I think even from the smallest category to the biggest, it's cool to see like just the education and the language that we're using to change.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I remember like definitely like going into certain stores and be like, yo, like I want to wear that, but like nah, that doesn't like that's not made for you. You know, like that's made for people that are a little skinnier. So it was like, but I want these Louis Vuitton pants. I was like, sorry, it's only for like skinny European men. Which
I mean,
but
I
like now, huh?
I want to wear Abercrombie and Fitch, but when I see those ads, I'm like, I don't look like that. So
I don't think Abercrombie and Fitch wants you to wear.
I don't think they want me wearing their clothes anyway.
They was like, oh, I can't fit? Good. Get out of here.
That nice surf
Express is that way.
What about the skinny Asian 138 pound kind of like model though? What's up? Then I can relate.
Legit though. But
I seen actually on your account, right? The model model in the 99 Ranch hat.
I know. That's real That's there, real. Man. We all go to the supermarket.
99.
Man. That's crazy. But yeah.
So Moses, could you tell us a little bit about like I know you kind of touched upon that the recent project with the plus size with the curves, but is there other projects as well that kind of you wanted to?
Yeah, I mean,
tell us about?
Probably the only other one that I can say that is kind of interesting is there's a guy. It's another sort of like small niche, but so he grew up in Flatbush. And he plays tennis, played tennis back then as a kid, but that kind of got him off the streets. Born and raised Brooklyn, basically full circle. He's now in his 40s, and he was just like, I want to start a tennis brand that represents, you know, like not just, you know, African Americans, but like all ethnicities playing tennis, changing the idea of tennis, changing the, you know, sort of stuffy stereotype of like country club culture. You know, you think about tennis, you think it's only for wealth, you know, or people who have that access, especially actually in the city too. You kind of realize like there's not a ton of tennis courts in Flatbush. There's also not a ton of tennis courts in the Bronx or probably Queens. Like
you gotta pay to go to those.
So basketball, we got a ton of basketball courts. You know what I mean? Like, and you can't blame the city. It is, you know, like that was just what people were being drawn towards. But we can change that going forward, and I think that's part of the brand mentality, and it's called Fury. I just did a couple imagery pieces for them. We're working on the bigger, you know, like sort of build out of the brand, but it's been awesome working with him and his partner. Just really, you know, they want to build out some apparel. They're obviously done the rackets, but really help them work through the messaging, you know, of how to properly articulate it, and also not to come across as like corny or like they're just trying to jump on like an apparel moment. Because everybody, you know, like having a streetwear brand is like being in a band back in the day. Like, you know what I mean? Like everybody is doing something.
Facts.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. You know, like I laugh because when we were doing tees, like back in the day, like it wasn't a cool thing to do. But now I'm like, yo, I can't walk down the street without somebody give me me like something. You know, they're like, here's my T-shirt or my sticker or my pen. I mean, and it's cool. It's cool to see the entrepreneur spirit come out. But once again, it goes back to why are you making what you're making?
Why? Yeah, you're going. So I saw Moses do it, come up with Stamped, and this is how they did it. So this is how I think. But there's no one way to do it. And like the more unique routes you take, kind of like emphasizes the story.
I feel like I'm curious to see. Yeah, I mean, I think it, you know, digital culture really sort of creates such a high school pocket for the whole community. So in some ways I feel like it's up to us, like if you are sort of like leading the pack in a little way, like show people, like branch out, like do work in a hotel, like make a rug, do some ceramics, like do something that you would never expect yourself to do, and maybe you find some success in that, and also maybe you show somebody else that like it doesn't have to just be a streetwear moment. You know what I mean? Streetwear is cool, but it's like that's everyday conversation for us, right?
Yeah.
So what can you add to the pot, to the kid that's looking up to you, that's like, he may love streetwear, but he may be a horrible designer, but maybe he's a great, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like he might have another skill, but he's never going to go into it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Because he's looking up to you and being like,
that's what I want to do, because that's like,
if it's not fucking, you know, like streetwear, what else? Like, I always think about that. I'm like, yo, let's open up the pot. Like, let's put something else in there. Let's mix it up. Like,
yeah.
And that tennis brand seems like right along that. Like making different shit. I mean, like taking what you love and like championing it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you can't blame anyone for wanting to make, you know, like everyone wants to make something, but I think definitely like if we can throw something else in there. Like I love music. I think I work with so many musicians. I try to stop working with musicians actually is where I should say I'm at now. But it's to me, I'm always like, yo, what else can we push as a culture to create something new that even inspires us, because I think we're all pretty bored of seeing a lot of similar things,
right?
You know,
absolutely.
There's room for something new, exciting to kind of like make some waves.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, man. I mean, like, cause you got to think about it. I mean, like, yeah, you know, like this whole like streetwear thing is kind of still in its baby stages. I mean, it kind of just started 20 years ago and got popular, like maybe 5 years ago. So, you know, like, so when everybody started coming out with like shirt brands and
I got a clothing line. It's like, oh, you make t-shirts.
Oh my! Everybody had a clothing brand. I mean,
but look where it all came from, though. Like, it all came from skate culture or surf culture.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, Snoozn and all these brands, they all derived from like skate.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, yeah. So, you know, man, like brands like Snoozn and Supreme, they've been out since the like 90s. They're the early 90s, and now they're just getting, you know, they're just due.
Right.
So, you know, so it's still in its little baby stages. So, you know, like when I see all these kids with a little, you know, like streetwear brand, they might be doing something right now at like 17, 18 right now, but when they get into the, you know, like 20s, they're going to figure out how to do different things with it. Yeah. Evolve the game, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. And that's, not to like taking away from anybody who's making t-shirts. Obviously, I think.
Absolutely not.
I know we be making t-shirts.
All of us.
But at the same time, it's like in terms of what else is, you know what I mean? We realize, and I don't know, I've had like multiple brands throughout college and made t-shirts and like, and cringeworthy shit. But it's like, but really it was like, because I was inspired by like, you know, stories like yours, Moses. And but I feel like it's also like a part of the process to kind of get a gateway to the creative process of creating things and being aware of what it is to make a brand. And like when you're like, oh shit, I'm just like a dude who makes t-shirts. So what does that say? So now like what can I do to like inject my own personality, my own story?
Exactly.
And then around it, but then even like branding and marketing, we tried to make shirts originally, and now nobody wanted to really. I mean, originally buy our clothes when we were like promoting stuff in college. I was saying like we used to run parties and we were trying to sell apparel with this like, I won't even tell you the name, but they were like, we really want you to come and film these parties. We don't want to buy the shirts, but we want you to come film the parties. So it's like, then we realized, all right, cool. Out of necessity, we just focused on, you know what I mean, what people wanted. But I mean, obviously, we love doing that too. Like I came up filming, you know, VHSC with like the fisheye, like, and I sucked at skating. So like, I was good at filming. So
cool.
But yeah, I'm curious to see with the Fury. So they make rackets as well. You said.
Yeah. So that's how they're starting out. I wish I might even have something on my phone, but
because rackets, like I can't, like you can't just turn around. And it's like, yo, I'm gonna get a racket made today. Where would you be playing tennis like that? Like,
I've been playing it a long time.
And this guy is African American.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, now, like, just look at that. You know what I mean? Like, this guy was like, yo, like, black people. For example, I mean, like, you know, like we're not really like, you know, like we're not really into like tennis like that until maybe like Serena and Venus came.
Until Virgil drops the.
Not even that. Not even that.
Until Virgil drops the off-white racket.
Yeah, but you know, it was like, you know, it's like, you know, like Serena and Venus, they came and they showed, you know, like they showed us, like, you know, man, like black people, like, yo, like we could do tennis and we can kill this shit, and you could be part of the culture. Because before that, black people wasn't into no damn tennis like that, you know what I mean? So,
how many black people do you know has ever played
polo? Play polo? None.
How many of them wear polo?
How many polo players do you know, period?
How many?
Valid question. Not that many, but you know what?
How many people have ever played polo who wear polo?
I don't know. But when you look at but you know what? But I bet you this: if LeBron got on a horse and started playing polo, oh, we coming.
Oh yeah,
we coming, baby.
It's true.
We'll take that like we did tennis. We took golf, and we coming for polo.
See?
Okay,
there you go.
We just need to find that one kid. So yo, man, make it happen. That little boy out there or girl, whoever's out there, man, just go out there, man. Just take over polo, man. Let's do it all, man.
You're right, man.
Lacrosse. You know what I'm saying? We coming for that too.
Let's start swimming.
Swimming.
Let me just see. Yeah.
You think Michael Phelps is fast? Have you ever seen LeBron LeBron in water, man? Oh, y'all ain't ready. We coming.
Yeah.
I guess that's what it takes. It just takes somebody from your own kind or like somebody like-minded like you to wear it, and you see that and you're like, this is dope. I want to wear it too.
Legit.
You don't have to be playing tennis, but you think that's dope because they're doing it.
Yeah.
You know.
It's also making it dope too. You know what I mean? Like representing like as far as tennis in general. Like I don't think like it was super like cool since like Agassi, who's been like a really, I mean Serena now with things, but who's like, you know what I mean? Like in terms of being a cultural icon in tennis, everybody's kind of very like vanilla. I feel like in terms of
It's kind of the same look. You know?
They've had, there's funny. They've had a couple. I mean, her name is Billie Jean. I mean, she just did a shoe with Adidas. Like she was first lesbian
pioneer,
like female tennis player, like like a legend. But nobody really knows who she is. You know what I mean? Like
I was not in my head. Like I knew. I was like Billie Jean.
No, right?
No, but that's how. When
it is crazy.
Recently,
she's probably in her. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, she's I mean, she was playing in the '80s type.
Oh, but I never heard her story.
Never heard her story because it was different time,
especially back then.
Publication
she actually played what's his name? The other dude from what's that? Like that popular tennis player from the '80s.
I don't know, Agassi, Sampras. I don't know,
man. Forgot his name, but yeah.
Poon should know. I mean, you a tennis guy.
What?
You know the dude that used to be like hella like angry all the time in the '80s, like that tennis player that was hella angry all the time.
Agassi, Sampras.
Give me a last.
Same ones I said. All right, cool.
Yeah, Oh yeah, this is dope.
That's
I like the aesthetic.
Yeah, it's
you
like
see the AirTech challenge.
Yes, yeah. But the color rack is dope. But that feels like New York, even though it doesn't like.
Yeah, I mean the whole idea. I mean the guy who's starting this is in his 40s, right? So I didn't want to. We're not going to come at this like. It's not going to be. It's feeling street and that's why I say like streetwear is like us, like right. If you grew up outside of the house, streetwear is your life. There is no such thing as like
whatever you wear in a streetwear.
Whatever you're wearing is streetwear. Like the crazy part for me is like when I see like now like when you look at streetwear, like it isn't what it was created to be. Now it's like it's the way basically a certain community flexes money, right, and that's the thing that bums me out because it's like it has nothing to do with like anything other than you're like, yo, I can afford it now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's marketed, but the business opportunity they see, but it's obviously it's selling this culture to kids like that are further in from the coast essentially.
Yeah,
that are like getting the online drops and like want to be down with what's.
But you know how it goes. I mean, like the minorities make it cool, we build it up, and then they like we're gonna go sell it to the like the kids in the suburbs. You know what I mean? I mean, like that's how it's always been. It's been through TV. It's been through clothes.
I've always wanted to go to. I've thought about. I mean, I would never do it because I don't think I could live in the middle of the country. Unfortunately, I don't think they'd even let me live in the middle of the country. But it would be cool to like start a suburban brand that is not coastally influenced at all, and just see how big you can get that.
Oh man,
because that is a way.
Oh man, I think you just gave somebody a gem.
Be like, yo, like fuck your like projects. Like this is my like project. You know what I mean? Like whatever, because they all have their own. We all have our own struggles. Like I definitely never like knock the suburban kid, but for me, watching these brands, and it's great. Like that's success, right? That's commercial success. But it is just sad because it's just like the price is raised, and everything is now just like. It's not about owning something about it isn't about culture anymore, right? Like it's not about skateboarding.
It's more what's associated with the brand. Like people are waiting in line for these Supreme drops and they don't even know anything about Michael Jordan. They don't know anything about like the collaboration of the photographer. But again, not to take anything away from like these kids that are heavily consuming it and like because at where they're at they have nothing. You know what I mean? They're looking at like straight burbs and it's boring as shit.
Hey man, buy what you buy. If you got the money, go get it.
Yeah.
But there's ways you can champion it though. I feel like even like you probably relate to it, like pool culture out in like that's that was in the suburbs, right? More or less, like out in Cali. But that was like cool. I've never experienced that shit. Like I always wanted to be some Dogtown Z-boy shit.
I mean that was the thing that was like, and just never like everything you wore was streetwear. You know what I mean? Like a vintage, like going to the thrift shop was streetwear. Like how you wore your clothes was streetwear.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
And everything was kind of at like streetwear from like the skateboarding sense. A lot of it is out of necessity. I mean, like you're gonna wear like looser pants, bigger pants, just because it's more comfortable skating, and like your shit wears a certain way because of like you're busting your ass like when you're skating and shit.
No, it's one. I remember when like shoelace, like we used to wear shoelace belts, and like I hate. Now I don't.
Now they be selling them right as shoelace belts.
I literally laugh, and I don't dress like that at all. Like I try not to. I mean, I did it. I grew up with it, but I have no interest. Like I'm not trying to look you know,
Like how you did as a kid.
we just leave it as it be. Yeah, but it's so funny to watch these people like, and a lot of the companies I work with are always like, so let's talk about that. And I'm like, you don't even need to talk to me. Just go to Urban Outfitters.
Yeah.
Like, you just go. That's it. They have probably 25 people in a department dedicated to just mining out whatever last bits of this culture is left.
Yep.
And you know what? And none of them know shit.
Yep.
But that's why they get us, the actual people that are in the actual culture, actually in the streets, actually doing.
I feel like they just
building up the culture.
They just cookie cutter like whatever is hot. Like they'll make their own. Just put Urban Outfitters on it. It'll just be blank. Like I don't know. Like let's say a Champion or something like makes a pullover jacket. They'll make the same pullover jacket, just their own brand.
Yeah.
Even to like the other brands that they're selling. Like recently, there's a sponsored ad that came up from Urban Outfitters. It was for Calvin Klein shoes that look like bootleg triple S's. But it's like, yo, that was the first thing, like the first one, and from there, it's like we're bringing back like your favorite dad sneakers, and it had like some like fila, like the thick fila with like the step like kind of ridges on the bottom that all the thoughts are wearing.
Yo, the dad sneakers, that was hilarious. I was like, that was such a smart move on his part on Demna to make those, or you know, have those come out. But it was like really poor kids who were legit buying cheap ass Nikes. That was where it came from. That was legit
out of necessity.
And it wasn't even, and actually wasn't even the streetwear kid. That was like the weird artsy, like sexually ambiguous, you know, guy or girl that was going and getting some like just
want to go
comfortable,
dude,
soled sneakers.
Dad
that's
shoes
where
are
you guys are all
comfy,
shopping.
man.
I'm going over here. It's like, fuck that. I really want nothing to do with that. It's almost like the polar opposite of the kids from the suburban shit.
100%.
Heavily trying to be a part of now.
It's
trying
so
to
crazy.
Go so far away from it, you know?
Yeah, like I remember like coming to Soho and like, you know, and just trying to like, you know, I'm just trying to weed out the people, just trying to see who's who, trying to figure it out. And I would see like the, you know, like the artsy dudes with all the girls, and I was like, yo, he looks cool as fuck with all these models, but he would have like the dirty ass Nikes. They were like legit dirty on purpose. And I was just like, why can't he not like just go get some like, you know, some regular Jordans and shit? And I was like, okay, because it's a look that he's going for, because
he's doing him.
Like those shoes, yeah, of course he can go buy new fucking shoes or whatever, but like, you know what I mean, like this shoe means something, you know what I mean? Like it's dirty for a reason. It has a look for a reason, you know what I mean? And you know, and I kind of think like that was like the dope shit. It gives people that, you know, like that certain look about them, you know, that individuality, you know what I mean? And you know.
There's like some sort of, there's like thought behind it, and then whether if it's like the lack of thought, it's like, why are your shoes sneakers? Because like they're fucking sneakers. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
That's the dope part you just said right there. It's a thought, but it's not really a thought. You know, it's supposed to not be a thought.
Yeah, it's the absence of. It's like I don't care. So that's what makes it's like, oh shit. It's like I want to not care too, bro.
100%. And that's basically how it
I
comes.
just gotta show you guys this is what these look like when we set them. But it's like the first like. I mean, not to. I mean,
wait, that's Calvin Klein?
Yeah. But it was just like look at the colorway and everything.
Looks like
similar.
the Balenciaga or like
it's the Triple S. Yeah.
But and they got the Skechers now too, so that you slide over and you got the Skechers.
That's
That's
funny.
funny.
Oh,
That's
wow.
funny.
And then
That's true 90s right there, man.
the Reebok.
Yeah.
These joints, I don't know. These look like some like kind of old school raver.
They remind me of like Spice Girls around that time.
Yeah, platform joints. And then
Wow,
That's when you know
that's
it's
a
bad,
category.
yeah, once it's there, it's like that's when you know it's a wrap.
Oh my
They're like,
god.
damn, the dads can't even buy their sneakers anymore.
And it's funny, you see the comments, they're just flaming them. Like, because like, it's like whoever posted this, fire them. It's like, this is so out of touch with anything at least bit relevant.
Knock off Balenciagas. I see, damn, they going
Yeah,
there.
everybody, they're all negative,
You get all
yeah.
that negative commentary, but there's still people buying them right now.
Oh,
Of course, because you know why? Because at the end of the day, there's still people out there that don't know what the hell, you know,
What
to
if
do or where to go.
50-year-olds and dad started rocking Supreme and all the streetwear stuff that we love?
There's that one old dude who does that, right?
Huh?
That'll be you.
That'll be me. That'll be me like 20 years from now.
20
right?
years from now, I'm like, just watch.
Oh, man.
That's the funny part is that you see how like it, you know what I mean? It's like when you look at go to the beach town, it's like old surf dads are still wearing like old Quicksilver, like old, you know, like.
But they're still fucking cool.
Yeah. No, I mean that they also stay. They're straight lokes, right? Like it's different. Yeah, that's it. I mean, look at Angelo. I mean, Angelo who makes Awake. I mean, that's like, he's basically embodying that whole vibe.
His own, it's his own steez. Everything, like the shirts and the designs are kind of made to like go around like all the other shit he wears, really. You know, like the placement of the logo and stuff, so you can rock a button up and still flex the logo. But it's like classy. I feel like it's a T-shirt, but I still feel dressed up. Like, but yeah,
that's so funny.
That's funny.
But yeah, man. I mean, fuck. This so this is the tennis brand.
Oh yeah.
So like basically the idea for this, the reason why we made these images is that he actually, it's so funny, like I sort of like, I didn't tell him I was gonna do it, but I was like, I'm gonna take some product shots. He's like, all right, cool. And then I'm like bringing in like props and chairs and all this stuff, and he was like, what is all this? And I'm like, I'm about to help flesh out, because we've been talking about the brand, cutting it up, and the idea was that it needs to feel approachable for any demographic, for any you know, wherever you have financially in your life. But if you know, sort of like, if you have taste in a specific area, such as furniture or like, you know, a piece of art, we dropped little things in there, or like a sneaker, right? Everyone knows the sneaker because you guys you kind of knew that person had taste. Whoever lived there had taste.
It communicates that the little pieces, they're clues to like the bigger picture without being like painting it for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
what's that process look like? So like, is that kind of you? So he said you were like, well, wait, what's up with this furniture stuff you're bringing over here?
No, he trusts me. You know, it's funny. Like one of the things with working with a client is, you know, you sit with them for a few times and you really have to get in their head, and it's a lot of psychology, but you know also, you know, you listen and then you translate. You know, you translate what that is visually. You know, but then you have to back it up with like some real concrete like advice. You know, it can't just be like, yo, shoot this because it's hot. Like,
because I think it's, but there's got to be some sort of
there
logic.
has to be a way. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I look at this image, like the reality is, you're making tennis rackets. It's not going to be a 15-year-old that's buying a tennis racket right off the bat, right? A person who can afford a racket and buy a racket is probably going to be in his early 20s, you know, and then and upward, right? So and the reality is the current tennis consumer is still probably stuck in a bit of an old tradition, even if they are of color, you know, because they're so used to buying Wilson and all the other tennis rackets. So we have to hit them with a little bit of, there has to be an aspirational moment, but it has to feel easy, right? Like just like the dirty sneakers, like you're like, it's an aesthetic, it is what it is, it's so cool, but I want it. It's the same thing. Like I was like, let's create a lifestyle, a bedroom shot. We all, if we're from the coast, or, you know, even if you're in the middle of the suburbs, you can look at a bedroom, whether it's from Crate and Barrel, West Elm, or Design Within Reach, you know right away if you want to live in that room.
Right.
So if you can, you know, my goal was that if you could look at this picture and be like, I could see myself living in that space, and then notice that it's also someone who plays tennis, and then start to look around, then you're like, maybe I can give the tennis, you know, maybe like what does this tennis look like?
Gotcha. Does that make sense? So you use it as a gateway. So you're not necessarily selling to tennis people. You're trying to open up other people to tennis, essentially.
Right. It's that whole thing about like dropping it in.
No, it's basically like you're just dropping little hints to, you know, like different lanes of people that wouldn't be into tennis. Like, hey, yo, like you see those like sneakers right there. Like you're familiar with that. So like, you know, like they have some type of feeling like, okay, yeah, maybe this is something I want to look into. You know
100%.
Something that they never thought about before. You know what I mean?
When I first started doing, you know, like I've done a few brands, but like, I don't really know where I learned this. I think it just sort of like came on my head just by paying attention and, you know, product association. You know, like you look at something like if you're trying to sell a beanie, right? You want to put that beanie down, and it really does matter what surface you put it on or what the context is, because if we, you know, obviously marble was a whole thing, but marble came about because you were taking a really simple product and laying on something that had a lot of history and felt really expensive, and we'd only been used to seeing marble in museums, you know, people of wealth, right? We thought of marble statues. What does that mean? Like, you know, like importance, elegance, opulence. Like, it's the same thing. Like if I take, you know, a Vuitton wallet and I shoot it next to like a power bar, or like, you know what I mean? Like one elevates the other, right?
Right.
You know, like you can take anything. You take pens, put it next to like a Mercedes-Benz key. You know what I mean? You obviously look at the pen now that much more, because you don't need to look at the Mercedes-Benz key. You already know what that symbol is. It's the education instantly hits you that means that you have made it. You have some amount of money but now the pen or whatever is next to it is what is to be discovered.
Yeah.
Wow, my brain just grew.
I know.
Hit you with those subliminal messages.
Yeah, but that's like the communication, like the art of how you communicate.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things I ever heard anybody tell me was that like stylists, people always think stylist is just the person that puts the clothes on somebody, but like they're actually the interpreter of the image, even for a photographer. And I take pictures myself, but a lot of guys who shoot, they're amazing eyes. A lot of them are technically based, and they're missing why they rely on a stylist so much is because they need someone to bring that essence to them, right? Because what you're giving a photographer is you're putting something in front of their lens. So a photographer's lens is their world, right? They can only see past the lens, or they can only see what's within the lens. So if you're the person that's deciding what goes in the lens, then you're actually you're playing, whatever you want to call it, chief creative, because you're putting whatever it is that's going to be focused in on. So you have to decide what is worth being focused in on.
Exactly. It should have purpose.
It's the same thing when you sell it as a customer. You're putting in front of them what they should look at. So if you're going to take your hat or your beanie or your food and you're going to put it on the streets of New York, or you're going to put it, or you're going to put it at the Met Museum, each thing communicates something completely differently, and it's going to spark something in the consumer, because no two are the same. Just like like one guy smokes Marlboros, one guy smokes Parliaments. Why?
They associate with the brand.
They're the same thing though, right?
Yeah,
cigarettes.
Yeah. Sure.
But because of the branding, essentially, right?
I think we could say obviously it's because of the taste and the flavor and et cetera, et cetera. But there's something about it. Maybe one person likes blue, one person likes red and white.
Yeah. It's true.
It's paying attention to that and not overlooking the details.
Yeah.
Because we're visual people. That's why we love Instagram. Like, one of the funniest things is that like all these apps and stuff has taught everyone to be like editors. Like, you're refining your eye every single day because you're looking at an image. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you're waiting for one to hit you.
Right.
Yep.
So we're all curating,
Absolutely. Man,
which is dope too.
Hella knowledge.
That was a lot. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I hope all creatives is just
but
listen
it's like, so nothing should be arbitrary. Like when you do it, like if doing it properly.
No, I mean if you're shooting pictures, like people always say, like one of the things that people will tell me, and even my friends who are photographers, are like, we know when it's your photo because everything's so specific. And I say, yeah, because the idea is, if I wanted to just document people's lives, then I wouldn't be taking fashion imagery. Like, for me, the photos that I make, it's all about communication, so how someone holds something, what's the expression on their face, how does the hair look, what's the color of the nail, is there dirt, does there need to be dirt underneath the nail, like, if I'm shooting, and because it's all going to convey something.
Absolutely.
Like every little bit, like even here, like if we were to take a picture of this room, it's like, okay, are we taking a picture of this room, and what are we trying to say? Are we four guys in a room, or are we four entrepreneurs? And so what do four entrepreneurs in the room need to have? What does that say? You know what I mean? There's different, everything has a key, you know what I mean? And that's the difference between the guy who is making images for Calvin Klein, and that's compared to the guy that's just shooting some pictures and like getting a couple thousand likes, you know what I mean? Like, right. That's how deep and how crazy, and like people always laugh because they think that creatives have OCD or whatever it is, but it's like it's all those details that you can't let go of that drive you nuts to continue to make the most perfect, basically, piece that communicates how you feel. Like, I don't even know if I've ever been truly satisfied with any of the work I've done, because I feel like there's always something more I could have added to it.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of madness that like keeps me excited to try again,
Yeah. But it's not like you feel like obviously you're happy with the work, but once you've kind of achieved that narrative and you communicate, but it's like, now I could push it further.
I mean, we all know we all have gone through it. It's budgets. We all have to fight budgets. We all have to fight, like help. It's not just like, there's so many things that like stop you sometimes from doing what you want to do. You can have the best idea, but executing that idea, there's real setbacks. So like, I feel like sometimes I feel like I got it kind of right, and sometimes I'm like, and it's funny because people always they're like, oh my God, this is so dope, it's so good, or like, we love it, and even the clients, like, we love it, and it sells. but just because something sells to me doesn't mean that I think it's successful. Like, I've gotten into a lot of arguments personally with people that I've started brands with, and I've left a lot of them because I don't want to just do a Calvin Klein, do what Urban Outfitters did and just be like, oh, let's make a Calvin Klein Triple S sneaker. We know kids are going to buy it. Boom. Like, for me, I'm like, no, like, what's the point of that? To a businessman, they see the money, and
then you still have to appease to those people because they're ultimately kind of hold the budgets, right?
Yeah. I mean, like,
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I personally am constantly in that battle. I think it gets me in a lot of trouble, but also I'm happy at the end of the day when I wake up and go to sleep. Like, the idea, if I wanted to make money, I wouldn't even be creative. I would just go work in finance.
Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's very true.
That's dope. That's really inspiring, man. For real. Like, that's the proper approach to go about it. And regardless what your craft is, I feel like if you go into it with that, like, kind of doing it for like how it fulfills you in terms of your overall progression, and like also how, like, the art form, if you're not happy with it, then there's really, no point in doing it.
Yeah. And I also feel with just like creatives, like, that's just how we're built. We always feel like we can always do it bigger and better. Yep. You know what I mean? And it always sucks when, like, you have those obstacles that it might be money, you know what I mean? It might be whatever. It might just be the help. It might just be like, things weren't connecting at that time, you know what I mean? So I could definitely like feel that right there. Like, absolutely.
I'm definitely gonna review every photo before I post it up now, like very intricately, just like very detailed, because when you said these things, like, I never even think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes we give more credit to the photographer than we do to the stylist, or whose creative idea was to put all this together. We just say, oh, dope photo right there. Who took this? We never say, who styled this?
Yeah.
Who put this together?
Yeah. And I think it's, it was, once again, just going back to what you said, it's about like building. It's kind of like building the thought process behind the picture. Yeah. It's like putting something on marble because that's what people connect to, like art, and to, like a certain look, what I mean? So it's about like kind of connecting to your brain,
right.
It's kind of hitting certain points in your brain to connect to that particular picture. I mean? Not just having a dope picture. So right. I definitely think people should pay attention to that a little bit more. Yeah.
Kind of like how we saw the AirTech challenge. Like, that's what caught our eyes.
Off the rip. Yeah, off the rip. Yeah, for sure. But looking at it, but even if, like, sorry, my brain's still jogging right here.
Same here, brother. Same here.
But yeah, I mean, I think, but to be honest, I don't know. You put it really well, Moses. That's like the way that I'm more inspired now, just in terms of like how we approach it, everything in terms of like. But now, what I wanted to say before, I just came from shooting an event earlier, but then like some of our younger guys, when they shoot events and stuff, it's like, well, I'm just here and I captured the event. I shot the room and there was people here. But I'm like, yeah, well, if you're shooting, say you can only hand over 4 pictures, and essentially we're trying to communicate that the event was successful, people were here for this reason, this is what was there, and like you're only limited to a certain amount, then you have to incorporate a certain amount of things. So if like, like, and it's, it's an art form to that, in a sense where it's like you got to be mindful. It's not just going in and just shooting. Yeah. And so, and like fighting budgets, it's like some people don't care. It's like, yo, I got this kid who's gonna come and shoot it for $100. Yep. It's like, what are you gonna charge me this much to do it? Yeah. It's like, well, I mean, ultimately your sponsors will be happier. The people who haven't come to your event will, understand what they missed out on, as opposed to just, some faces.
Yeah, that's. I was like, that's sort of the problem with the digital age. I mean, it's like, it's great, but it's also horrible because it's like, there's a lot of people who hire you who just don't care, man, and it goes back to why like the Urban Outfitter dad sneaker category exists. But I think at the same time it just goes back to self-respect and sort of the are you happy with it from a business owner standpoint? If they're not, they don't care. Like, I've done that. That's actually working for me personally. That whole experience is what I consider working in the music industry. Like, working in the music industry, you have some people who think they know, that they have an understanding of what they're talking about when they have no understanding at all. They may be completely gifted musically, but they are completely out of the loop when it comes to a lot of things aesthetically. And they honestly, what I got tired of is I got tired of trying to tell people how to do things the right way, watching them do it their own way, watching them fuck up and fail, and then would come back and ask me to help. And I would jump in, and now I'm just like, I'm good. I'm good. Like, it's cool. Like, I don't really need like, I hope you're cool. I hope life is, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no bad blood, but it is what it is. Like,
it is what it is.
Not there. Like, I mean, I was here originally to try to help you out, but now it's like, you know what I mean? It's, yeah, is it because of like the fire, like,
and then no one ever has money. You know, everyone's always like, that's the part too. It's like, they're like, yo, I got no money, but like, this is how it should be. They're like, yo, but and they're like, I see it like, you know, like a gold painting, and I'm like, cool. Like, I was like, what do you know? I'm like, it's just so funny. Like, why? A, you sound like everybody else. B, you just showed me 20 girls that I see on Instagram daily in my Explore page. Okay, cool. Like, you don't even just go to the mall. Like, just hit Broadway. Like, yo, like hit the fucking mall. Like, that's just it. Like, you don't need me to help curate anything. But it's like, people are silly, man. They do constantly silly things.
Because you know what, and I feel with like creatives, it's like you have two different creatives. You have the people that kind of want to find the best way to do something different, go against the grain, but you have the ones that do go on Instagram and be like, that's what I'm supposed to do because that's what people like. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, like I try to tell, for example, like some of my photographer friends, I'm like, okay, yeah, that picture is cool of that chick half naked. Yeah. But what's the difference between that and literally everybody on my timeline? How do you give me something different? Yeah, she looks cute, but so does everybody else here. What do you give me that's different that makes me want to be like, okay, you can get a job at Vogue, you know what I'm saying, one day, you know what I mean? Like, what's the difference, you know, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, like, not to even bring up Warhol, but, like, because it's such a trite reference, but, like, that was what his whole thing was like, yeah, I'm going to do this completely my own way, in a bad way, but my own way. And it was refreshing at the time, right? If you saw it, it was just like completely left. I think also too, like, it goes back to being accountable to your friends and to yourself. Be like, push, like, what's the new marble? And also be specific to what it is that you're making. Like, what is it that if you have your own business, why do you think someone should come to you, and what are you offering that's new in the conversation? So, like, because if you're offering something new, it's going to stand out. It may take a minute to catch on because you have to go through a lot of people that are trying to do the same thing. Yeah. But yours will pop off. It definitely, especially when it comes to, you know, like, if it's self-promotion, that's a different thing, because that is, to me personally, like, it's very it's like, how do you say this? It's like going to the gym, like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously aesthetics, you know, if you're naturally pretty, people are going to want to look at your photo. You could dress horribly, people would still want to look at you. Right. But if you're making a product, absolutely, it's a different thing.
Yep, it's true. It's true. Bars. Absolutely. I get it.
Yeah, man.
A lot of gems.
Yeah.
Super gems, dude. Super gems. I love it. This was amazing.
I think we're close to now. We probably go on. We have to bring you back again, Moses.
Moses Part 2.
We might have to charge people for the right? TED Talk. You know, it's like a lot of gems, man. A lot of gems. But man, we appreciate you coming out.
Thanks for them.
Any like last words you want to leave us for the podcast? How'd you like the experience today?
No, definitely. No, thank you guys very much for having me. Thank you, Benny. Cupcaking.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Benny eats good.
Yeah, man. We learned a lot today, man.
Hey,
definitely.
Man. I'm just trying to bring you guys some knowledge, man. That's all. I'm just trying to bring some people, professionals, you know, that know what they're talking about. So.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming and take the time. So one more time, make some noise for Moses. Hey. So thanks everybody who tuned in for No Snoozin', the podcast, Volume 2. Yeah, presented by, you gotta throw me off, man. Yeah, in partnership with Family FM and recorded here at Canal Street Radio. All right, cue the music.